Well, China is said to be discussing a plan to ease the rules on foreign electric vehicle makers. It could allow overseas companies to set up wholly owned EV businesses in free trade zones, and they've been told the policy could be in place as early as next year. Well, joining us now from Detroit is our US Autos editor, Craig Trudell. Craig, thanks very much for joining us this morning. What does this plan say about China liberalising its auto market?
Well, obviously, this is something that companies, foreign companies, have been pushing for some time. They've pushed for this even from a sort of broader standpoint, rather than just EV production, just their operations in general. This was a policy that was set up in the 1990s, back when China was really just a minnow in the sort of global automotive sea, and nowadays it's very much the shark, and it's really able to stand on its own. There are a lot of Chinese manufacturers who have some real capability and can be taken seriously and maybe don't need these sorts of protectionist measures. So this is a step toward liberalizing the situation in China, but definitely a small step. We're talking about EV production and free trade zones, so not no holds barred at this point.
Are there any risks to the momentum in the electric car market, though? Because some analysts have voiced concerns it could collapse if there weren't any government incentives.
Yeah, I think the government really is not going to let that happen, right? Anytime we've seen the market in general slip in China, you've seen the government take measures to make sure that the market returns to a growth phase. I think with electric vehicles, you are seeing an attempt by the government to move away from paying out a ton of subsidies to more of a credit system like we have here in California. But they will test those waters carefully and make sure that they're not killing the EV market, and it's killing EVs in their infancy. They really have a vested interest in making sure that these take hold in this market because of the environmental issues and the pressure they're under to clean up the air.
Craig, what about the winners and the losers, though? Who are they?
Well, certainly Tesla comes to mind as one that this policy is very significant, just because they don't have a presence in China. They don't have manufacturing in China, I should say. So the idea that Tesla earlier this year said they were exploring production in Shanghai, which would be one of the zones where there would be free trade, and potentially, if this policy is implemented, where they could set up shop without forming a joint venture, that would be significant to them because they wouldn't have to worry about intellectual property concerns. They would be able to wholly own the operations there, whereas you have GM, Ford, BMW, Volkswagen. They have to share in the spoils of their operations in China with 50-50 joint ventures.